could have killed him, Mr. Bonner. Why did you just shoot him in the hand?
Well, the gun's not only for killing, Robbie. The gun's kind of a tool.
A tool?
Sure. Just like a hoe or an axe. Say, did I ever tell you about my grandfather?
Nope.
Well, his name was Jebediah Bonner.
People mostly call him Jeb. He was a marshal, and a good one. Good enough to stay alive and retire. I was a boy about your age. My ma and pa had been killed before I remembered, and Grandpa Jeb had seen to it that I was raised with Doc Ludlow and his wife. Grandpa Jeb was coming home that day. That's all I'd been able to think about for weeks. It's good to see you, boy.
I'm glad to see you too, Grandpa. I've missed you terrible.
You have. Well, let's take a look at you. My, you must have growed half a foot since I saw you last.
Martha, why don't you take the boy along home? I'll take Jeb in here and buy him a beer. He must be pretty dry and dusty after 2 days on that stage.
Now, that sounds like a fine idea.
I've learned to write real good, Grandpa, and I can do sums, and I can ride a horse, and I...
And you can do just about everything, can't you? Well, you go along home with your Aunt Martha, and I'll be along directly. We've got a lot of time to talk about all the things you can do.
Jeb, suppose we just take that prescription I mentioned a moment ago. Two beers. This will be the first of a million of them, Jeb. You've earned every one of them.
You're Jeb Bonner, aren't you?
I know you, young feller.
No, you never laid eyes on me, but I know all about you. I hear they retired you, Bonner. You know, that's something. I mean, all the towns you tamed, and you still alive to retire. Now, you must be pretty good.
Good at what?
Well, I've heard you shot it out with quite a few. Some pretty good men, the way I hear. Bad ones, but some pretty good men.
Line between a good man and a bad man's mighty fine. And the older you get, the smaller it gets.
I'll buy you a drink.
No, thank you. One's enough for me in the heat of the day.
Oh, come on now. One more ain't gonna hurt an old retired hero like you. Come on, Doc. Introduce us.
Your mouth's big enough. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Kenyon. Does that name sound familiar to you, Bonner? This is my brother Bob.
Kenyon. I remember a Kenyon about 20 years ago. Up in Indian country.
That was my pa. I don't believe you give him a good chance for a fair fight, Bonner.
Well, whether you believe it or not, son, isn't too important. When a man's 20 years dead, it's high time people forgot about him and went on living.
Don't you get preachy with me.
What is it you want, son? A fight? I'm past that.
But you go mind your business, Jim. You should teach him to mind his mouth.
I've tried to, Doc. He's voting age.
You planning on staying in Canyon City?
I thought I would. Now, you ain't gonna tell me the town isn't big enough for the both of us, are you?
Well, you ain't gonna like it here. And I just know you ain't gonna like it here.
I'm sorry, Jeb. I didn't think he'd shoot his mouth off like that.
Every man shoots his mouth off one time or another. Let's get on home. I want to see that boy of mine. Jim Kenyon didn't leave it there. Guess he wanted the town to know how he felt because he horsed Grandpa and Doc off the sidewalk on the way home.
really outdraw John Wesley?
Well, there was a time. There was a time.
Then why didn't you hit that Jim Kenyon?
How did you hear about that, boy? Only happened half hour ago.
Billy Haskell told me. His pa seen it. You just stood there and let them walk all over you.
What would you have done, Vint?
Gee, I don't know. Something.
Yes, I suppose I should have done something.
Then why didn't you?
Vint, if you were a real fast runner and been running real hard for 20 years, how do you suppose you'd feel?
Tired, I guess.
Well, that's me. I'm tired. See that hand? It's got a line in it for every year I've lived. And the fingers that used to be quick and limber, well, they're stiff. And the joints ache when the weather's fixing to change. I've learned a lot of things, but what good's all a man's learning if his body won't do what his head tells it to? Now, do you think I could outdraw that Jim Kenyon?
No, sir. I guess you couldn't do anything else but take it.
Let the boy alone. He has to be alone now.
Yes, I suppose so. But it's always so hard to lose a dream.
Excuse me, Mom. I think I'll take a little walk. You understand what I was talking about in there, son?
I guess so. You're not young anymore.
No, son, I'm not young anymore.
But, Grandpa, isn't there something anyone can do, even if you're not young?
Well, now, Vince, you just might have a point there. Just might. You stay right here. I'll be back.
You'd be Marshal Bonner, right?
Just plain Mr. Bonner now.
Well, Mr. Marshal, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Sit down.
Thank you.
I'm sure I know why you're here, right? It's the Kenyons. Oh, I know them well. I've had Jim in jail more times than one for stirring up trouble. Jim thinks he's pretty good with a handgun.
Well, how about his brother Bob?
Bob? Oh, I'd say there's still some hope for him if Jim would stop pushing him. Mr. Bonner, I don't like to say this, but you made a pretty poor showing out there today. Now, as a famous lawman, you know that if you give a man an inch, he's going to take a mile, and he's going to walk on you every foot of the way, right?
For sure, I see.
Yes, but what are you going to do about it?
Well, what do you expect me to do about it? Put on a gun and brace the Kenyons in front of the whole town?
Oh, no, Mr. Bonner, that isn't what I had in mind.
Well, maybe I better do something to protect my reputation.
Well,
right? Right.
Yes, sir.
Grandpa told me later it wasn't too much for a feller who had spent half his life rousting drunks out of bars. Just a trick he used on the youngster when he wasn't expecting it.
Sheriff?
Mr. Bonner, I heard about what happened last night. I can't say that I exactly approve.
When I was by your office last night, you said something about my making a poor showing. Now you don't seem to approve of my making any showing at all.
I'm the sheriff of this town, and I intend to keep the peace.
That's a fine idea.
Even if some old has-been of a just let me say, I don't want anything to stop me.
Well, I always did approve of law and order.
Let you and I go out to the canyons and see if we can settle this matter amicably before it develops into something far more serious. Right?
All right.
Come on. I'll get my hat.
We've gone further than we should with this, Jim. Now, you take it easy.
Gentlemen, I think we'd better have a little talk.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Sheriff, I can speak for myself.
Mr. Bonner, I'll handle this. I'm also an able lawman. I'm not going to mince words with anyone. Neither am I going to take sides.
Oh, look, Sheriff. Why don't you stick to rousting drunks? You're going to get into something that won't rub off.
I should lock you up.
And why don't you step off that horse and try it?
I've had about enough of this, Jim. Now you pull in your horns while there's still time.
And you shut up, Bob. Come on, Sheriff. Come on, lock me up. And you're man enough to do it without that gun, ain't you?
Yes, I think so.
My back! My back! Oh, my back! My back! My back!
Now, quit crying. Come on, you windbag. Get up! Get up!
He could be hurt bad.
Haven't you had enough trouble? It's always you. You with your gun-toting and your brawling and your hate.
Oh, shut up.
Don't just stand there. Help me.
Look, Bob, she might be your girl, but don't let her talk to me like that.
Look, somebody's got to set you straight. You're no good, Jim.
Look, I told you to shut up.
Now, you just stop right there, Jim. Now, you just move back there and stay like you are. Sheriff, appears to me like you're going to be laid up for a while. You're going to need yourself a deputy. I'd be right honored if you'd make it me. Much obliged. Bob, I'll send a buckboard back for him from town. You're just as big a fool as your daddy was.
I'm gonna kill you, old man. I'm gonna kill you.
You so mixed up, you gotta kill me to straighten yourself out.
Anytime, anywhere. Now, you let me get my gun, I'll settle it right now. I don't care how fast you were, or are.
I like witnesses when I gun a man down. Now, if you got the guts, I'll meet you in town this afternoon at 4 o'clock, where everybody can see.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bonner.
Sit down, Bess. You love Bob, don't you?
Yes.
Then you were right in doing what you did. People do a lot of things wrong, but the love in them makes it come out all right.
Oh, but Jim will kill you, Mr. Bonner. You're...
Old. Yep, I'm old. Well, Bess, there's some things you can do, even if you are old. Let's just wait and see.
How did you know that about love?
Well, girl, you have to be young before you're old.
Did you have a girl then?
Had me a wife named Elizabeth. She had eyes the color of a pond right after a quick freeze. She died a year after we were married. Gave me a boy named John. He and his wife were killed at the massacre of Little Creek 5 years ago come next June. And they left me bent.
You must have really loved her to remember her like that.
Loved her? That's a pretty feeble word to express an emotion as big as the sky.
Grandpa said that even good friends sometimes don't agree on things that are important. Doc Ludlow made his feelings pretty clear.
If you face Jim Kenyon, you'll be dead. He's fast. I've seen him.
I'm sorry, Ken, but it's 25 minutes to 4.
I'm sorry, too, Jeb. Sorry you ever came back to Canyon City.
Did you hear all that, boy?
Yes, Grandpa. I don't want you to get killed, Grandpa.
Now you listen to me, son, and you listen carefully. Things don't always turn out the way you plan them, and hardly ever the way you'd like them to be. But however they turn out, you've got to take them coming on. Now, you understand that?
I think so. I love you, Grandpa.
Well, I feel the same about you, boy. I surely do. Now, you stay right here. Understand, and I'll be back directly.
But, Grandpa, isn't there something anyone can do, even if you're not young? I don't want you to get killed, Grandpa. No, sir. I guess you couldn't do anything else but take it. I love you, Grandpa.
If you didn't let me get close, I could have beat you. I could have beat you.
Take care of him, Ken.
That was no lucky shot, Bonner. You could have put that bullet right between his eyes and no one would have blamed you.
I'd have blamed myself. Vint, today you saw your first gunfight.
Yes, sir.
Did you like it?
No, sir. I was scared. But you weren't scared, were you, Grandpa? You just stood there and let him shoot at you.
You know why I'm sitting down right now, son? 'Cause my legs don't want to hold me up. Someday you're gonna grow up. And when you do, I want you to remember what you saw today. I want you to remember something else, too. Growing old ain't so bad. It's just well, it takes a mite of getting used to. That's what it does.